Welcome HFY Sci-Fi Starbound. Subscribe my channel. The stars were so quiet, too quiet. Veyra floated alone in the wreckage of her family's ship. The escape pod trembled with every breath she took. Thin wisps of air hissed from a cracked vent. The oxygen meter blinked red, flashing its warning, like a heartbeat, faster, faster, as if mocking her. She curled her knees to her chest, trying to hold in her shivers. Hunger gnawed at her belly. Her lips were cracked, her throat dry like sand. Her wide, glassy eyes stared into the void. Out there in that endless darkness, ships drifted past like silver fish in a black sea. "Help me," she whispered. And the voice was too soft to even fill the pod. A faint chime brought her head up, her distress beacon still active, still sending out the same desperate cry for aid. For 3 days it had been blinking, pulsing out into the void. Every ship nearby should see it. Every ship must see it. She pressed her face against the pod's small window. Their lights. A massive cruiser slid silently through the stars, its sleek hull reflecting the faint blue of a distant sun. The symbol of the Galactic Union glowed like a cold brand on its side, a circle of stars with a sword piercing through. Her heart leaped. Her cracked lips curled into a trembling smile. "They'll stop," she croaked. "They'll help me," she pounded, her small fists against the glass. "Over here," she screamed. "Please, I'm here." The cruiser glided on, its engines roaring like distant thunder. No. Her scream tore her throat raw. She slapped the window again and again, tears streaming down her dusty cheeks. "They see me, they see me. Why won't they stop?" The ship didn't even slow. Its massive shadow washed over her pod like a passing storm. And then it was gone. Veyra slumped against the glass. Her chest heaved with shallow, frantic breaths. "They left me," she whispered. Again. This was the 5th ship. 5 ships in 3 days had passed her beacon. None of them answered the Lyri weren't worth saving. That's what the Union had always said. Parasitic species. Drain on resources. Let them fend for themselves. Now Veyra understood what they meant. Her fingers brushed against a locket tied around her neck. A crude little thing her mother had carved from bone. The memory of her parents' screams as their refugee ship burned still echoed in her head. She squeezed her eyes shut. "Don't want to die." But the oxygen meter blinked faster. Her breaths came quicker now. Each one seemed thinner, weaker. Then something moved in the dark. At first, she thought her mind was playing tricks. A shape emerged in the distant voids, small, ragged. Nothing like the Union's polished cruisers. It drifted closer, its hull pitted and scarred. Strange markings streaked its side, crude letters she didn't recognize. Her pod's computer chirped weakly. "Incoming vessel detected. Identification, unknown." Her heart pounded. "Please," she whispered. "See me." The ship slowed. Its engines flared dim orange as it rotated, bringing a docking hatch into alignment with her pod. Her beacon light flickered, then flared bright green. They'd locked on. They saw her. The pod shook violently. A hiss of air filled the tiny space. The hatch at her side creaked and groaned. Veyra pressed herself against the far wall. Her claws dug into the padding. This wasn't a Union ship. These weren't the civilized races her mind spun with all the stories she'd heard, rumors whispered in refugee camps. Horror tales spread to keep children in line. There was only one species in the galaxy. Ships like this. Humans, the savages, the predators, the ones the Union said would eat anything. If a human ship takes you, you'll never come back. Her stomach twisted. Maybe it would have been better to die in the pod. The hatch hissed louder. And then it opened. The light blinded her. Shadows moved in the doorway, tall figures in battered armor. Helmets gleaming faintly in the pod's dim glow. They spoke in a harsh, guttural tongue. One of them raised a glowing device and scanned her body. "Lyri," a deep voice growled through a translator. "Orders?" another asked. There was a pause. A different voice, colder, spoke from deeper. "Inside the ship. Pull her aboard, or leave her to die." The darkness felt alive. Veyra's eyes fluttered open. For a moment she thought she was still in her escape, pad cold, cramped with death pressing in on all sides. But the air smelled different, metallic. Strange cold metal pressed against her bare skin. The surface hummed softly beneath her. Her pulse spiked. She wasn't alone. Voices echoed in the dark low. Guttural, alien. The Leary say we're monsters. The voice was deep, rough, like rocks grinding together. Should we show her how true that is? Veyra's breath caught in her throat. Her claws dug into the floor. Another voice answered, sharper, calmer. No. Let's see if she survives first. Her body went rigid. Survive. Survive what? Faint. Light flickered above, cutting through the gloom. It was dim and red, like a dying sun. Shapes moved in the shadows, tall figures clad in black armor, their faces hidden behind masks and helmets. Humans. The stories were true. The monsters had taken her. A loud clang made her flinch. One of the figures had slammed a heavy box onto a metal table nearby. Tools rattled inside. The human pulled off their helmet, revealing a scarred face and pale eyes that seemed to glow faintly in the dim light. Awake already? The human muttered, tougher than she looks. Another human stepped closer, boots echoing loudly. This one was bigger, broad shoulders, stark skin, eyes like coals burning under a thick brow. A scar ran down the side of his face, twisting his mouth into a permanent scowl. He crouched low, bringing his face close to hers. Leary, he growled through a translator. Name. Veyra pressed herself back against the wall. Kesa claws scraped the floor as she tried to shrink away. Non-aim? She whispered, double quotes. Yes. Your name. The human said, his tone sharp. Her voice trembled. Veyra. Veyra. The human tested the word like it was a curse on his tongue. He stood up and barked an order to the others. Two more humans appeared from the shadows, their armored boots heavy on the deck. One carried a long rifle. The other had a thick blade. Strapped across his back, Veyra's heart pounded in her chest like a trapped bird. They were all staring at her, the monsters, the predators. Where were you headed, Leary? The big human asked. She shook her head violently. I wasn't. Our ship, it was destroyed. Destroyed? Her claws clutched at the locket on her chest. Please, she whispered. I don't know anything. Let me go. I won't tell anyone you saved me. A harsh laugh cut her off. Saved you. One of the humans sneered. We dragged you out of a frozen coffin. If we hadn't, you'd be space dust by now. The big human raised his hand. The others fell silent. He leaned closer, his voice low. Listen to me, Leary. We don't save for free. The galaxy doesn't work that way. Veyra's throat tightened. Please. I don't have anything to give. The human's dark eyes studied her for a long, silent moment. Then he straightened and turned to the others. She's young, weak, not a threat. A different human spat on the floor. Should have left her to die. The Union's gonna fry us if they find her on board. The big human didn't flinch. Commander Rail says she stays for now. Rail, that was his name, the leader of the monsters. Veyra was shoved into a small, cold room. The door hissed shut behind her. She sat in the corner, hugging her knees to her chest. The ship creaked and groaned, like some great beast moving through the dark. She could hear the faint thrum of engines and the muffled voices of the humans outside. Why are they keeping me? The stories said humans were predators, cannibals. They'd eat anything weaker than themselves. Was that what they wanted from her? Claws dug into her arms. She tried to push the thought away. Hours passed, or maybe days. Time was impossible to measure in the dark. Once a small hatch opened in the door, a tray slid through with a chunk of some strange, steaming food. It smelled rich and heavy, almost bloody. Veyra recoiled from it. Meat, she pushed it away, through the thin walls. She could hear voices arguing. The Union's already looking. For her, doesn't matter. They hate us anyway. We don't need more heat on us, Rail. One, Leary isn't worth it. She's worth something. Veyra's ears perked up. She pressed herself against the wall, straining to hear. She's just a kid, Rael said. If we give her up, we're no better than the Union. The Union doesn't care about us. Another voice snapped. They called us predators. They hunt us for sport. And now we're protecting her. Enough, Rael said, his voice like steel. The galaxy hates us because we fight back, because we don't bow. That's why we're still alive. Long silence followed. Then a voice muttered one day, that human pride will get us all killed. Veyra's claws trembled against the floor. So the stories were true. The humans were outlaws. Hunted by the same Galactic Union that left her to die, the door to her room hissed open. Rael stepped inside. He filled the doorway, his dark eyes fixed on her like a predator sizing up prey. You didn't eat, he said flatly. Veyra shook her head. I can't. I'm leery. We don't eat meat. Rael's lip curled. Then you'll starve. She swallowed hard. Why are you keeping me? She whispered. Because you're alive, Rael said simply. His boots thudded against the floor as he stepped closer. But if you stay, he growled, you eat like us. Or you die. The knife hit the table with a loud clang. Veyra flinched, her breath catching in her throat. A human stood over her, eyes narrowed, a smirk tugging at his scarred face. Blood dripped from the blade and pooled on the metal surface between them. Eat, he growled. Veyra's eyes darted to the plate in front of her. A steaming slab of meat sat there, red and glistening. The smell was heavy, rich, and alien to her senses. Her stomach twisted. It's flesh, she whispered, her voice shaking. The human's smirk deepened. Better than starving. Or do you want us to show you how we hunt? Veyra's claws dug into her thighs. Her instincts screamed to run, to hide, to get as far away from these predators as possible, but there was nowhere to go. Not out here in the endless black of space. The ship was alive with noise. Boots clanged on metal grates. Rough voices barked orders. Somewhere deeper in the vessel, laughter echoed low, rumbling, full of strange, wild energy. Veyra hated it. This wasn't how civilized people acted. They were loud, crude, dangerous, and they terrified her. Her first days aboard the human vessel felt like a blur. Every morning she woke to the thrum of engines and the smell of cooked meat. The crew didn't seem to sleep much. They were always moving, always working, always shouting across the ship in their harsh, guttural tongue. When they weren't working, they sat together in a dim mess hall, eating slabs of charred flesh and drinking something bitter that smelled like fire. Veyra kept to herself, sitting in the corner, clutching her locket and praying they wouldn't notice her. But they always noticed. Why isn't the little Leary eating? One would ask, smirking. Maybe she's waiting for us to eat her, another would joke. And the whole table would roar with laughter. Her stomach churned every time they looked at her one day. A tray slammed down in front of her. Eat. The same scarred human from before said, I can't, she stammered. You will, he growled. Commander Rael's voice cut through the tension. Enough, Narek. The scarred man stepped back but didn't hide his glare. Rael crouched in front of her, his dark eyes unreadable. You have two choices, girl, he said quietly. You adapt or you die. Veyra's claws trembled against the tray. That night, she couldn't sleep. She could hear them outside humans laughing, arguing. Their voices like growls carried through the thin walls, but there was something strange in their tone. It wasn't just noise. There was warmth in it. Every time one of them laughed too hard, another would slap his back and shove a drink into his hands. When someone cursed in pain, others were there instantly, patching wounds and offering food. They cared for each other. Veyra didn't understand it. The galaxy called them monsters, predators, savages. But these so-called predators shared everything: food, weapons, even their tiny quarters. They guarded each other like pack animals, like family. 2 days later, Rael found her again in the mess hall. You're still not eating, I told you, she said softly. I can't, my kind. We don't eat meat. Rael's expression didn't change. Your kind doesn't survive drifting in dead space either, he said. Yet here you are. Veyra opened her mouth, but no words came. Rael stood and walked to the viewport. Do you know why the galaxy hates us? He asked suddenly. Veyra hesitated. Because you're predators. That's what they say, Rael muttered. That's not the truth. He turned, his eyes hard. The truth is we refuse to bow. When the Galactic Union came to our worlds, they demanded we kneel. We didn't. So they called us monsters. Veyra stared at him. Is that why they're hunting you? She asked. Rael nodded. They fear what they can't control. In humans, we don't kneel. Later, as Veyra wandered the ship's narrow corridors, she overheard two crew members talking in low voices. Rael's making a mistake. That girl's nothing but trouble. She's just a kid. She's bait. The Union will burn this ship to slag, just to kill her, and we fight. Fight against them. You're insane. Veyra's stomach dropped. I'm putting them. In danger, she pressed her back to the wall, claws digging into the metal. Hours later, she sat alone in the mess hall. The humans around her ate and laughed like nothing was wrong. Her own tray sat untouched in front of her. The same slab of meat growing cold. Slowly, she reached for it. Her claws shook. She tore off a small piece, bringing it to her lips. The smell was sharp, heavy. Her stomach lurched. But she forced herself to bite down. The taste flooded her mouth rich. Strange alive, her stomach growled. For the first time in days, she didn't feel weak. An alarm blared. Red lights flashed. Along the walls, the laughter in the mess hall died instantly. Union warship incoming. A voice barked over the comms. The crew leapt to their feet. Weapons clattered in their hands. As they sprinted toward the armory, Rael stormed into the room, his long coat billowing behind him. Get to battle stations, he ordered, his eyes locked on Veyra. You stay out of the way. What's happening? She asked, her voice. Trembling, Rael's expression darkened. You're bait to them, girl, he said. They'll kill us all just to take you. The black void erupted with light. Beams of pure energy sliced through space like burning swords, forcing the human vessel to swerve hard to avoid them. Alarms blared across every corridor, shields holding at 40%. Someone shouted. The humans ran to their stations, boots slamming against metal grates. The smell of smoke and hot wiring filled the air. Veyra gripped the edge of her seat as the deck tilted sharply beneath her. Then a cold, mechanical voice crackled over the comms. Echoing through every speaker on the ship, this is Union warship, vigilant to the human vessel Harbinger. You are harboring a leery refugee marked for elimination. Release the girl, surrender your vessel, or we erase you from existence. The words froze Veyra's blood. She turned to Rael. The human commander's face was like carved stone, his eyes locked on the glowing display of enemy ships closing in. How many? He asked calmly. 3 Union destroyers, Narak growled, his scarred hands tightening on the weapons console. They're fast, and we'll have to be faster. Rael tapped a come button. Full burn. Get us out of here. The ships. Engines roared like a beast awakening. Veyra was thrown back in her seat as the Harbinger surged forward. Stars stretching into long white streaks through the Y. But the Union ships didn't fall behind. They're matching speed. A young human shouted, They're locking weapons! Decoys now! Rael barked. Small pods launched from the Harbinger's flanks, erupting into clouds of metal debris. Explosions flared as the Union's first salvo struck the decoys instead. Of their ship? Did it work? Veyra whispered. Not for long, Narak spat. Union commanders aren't stupid. The ship shuddered as another blast grazed their shields. Sparks rained down from a panel overhead. Veyra clung to the seat, her claws digging deep into the worn fabric. They're going to destroy us, she said, her voice trembling. Rael didn't look at her. Not if I can help it. In the chaos of flashing lights and shouted orders, Veyra's ears caught a faint voice over the Union's open comms channel. The contaminant must not survive. Her blood ran cold. Eliminate the human vessel if necessary. Priority 1. is to erase the Leary? Contaminant? They didn't want to rescue her. They wanted her gone. The realization hit her like a physical blow. They're not here for the humans. They're here for me. Her mind reeled. But why? The Harbinger shook violently as another blast struck their flank. Port shields failing. Reroute power. Too late, they're coming in close. Through the viewport, Veyra saw one of the Union destroyers maneuvering into position, its gun batteries glowing with deadly light. They're trying to box us in, Rex snarled. Rael's jaw tightened. Time for a different tactic. He slammed his fist down on the combs. Prepare. Countermeasures. Fire on my mark. The humans moved like a single organism, fast, coordinated, fearless. Veyra watched in awe as they worked together, shouting orders and relaying data without hesitation. They're fighting for me. The thought twisted in her chest. But why, Mark? Rael barked. The ship jolted as a volley of missiles roared out from hidden launchers along the Harbinger's belly. Two of the missiles struck the lead Union ship Dawn, engulfing it in flames. She's pulling back. Good. Keep pressure on the others, Rael ordered. Commander, we can't win this fight, Narek said grimly. We're outgunned, then we run. The Harbinger dove hard, engines flaring so bright that warning alarms screamed. They're overloading the cores. A crew member shouted, better than letting the Union gut us, Rael snapped back. The stars outside twisted and warped as the human vessel slammed into a desperate hyperspace jump. Veyra felt the whole ship groan around her, the sound like a wounded animal. Her claws dug deeper into her seat. We're going to tear apart. But then with a blinding flash, they were gone. Silence, the only sound was the faint hum of the engines and the ragged breathing of the crew. They're not following, Narek reported. Yet Rael said darkly, they'll find us again. It's only a matter of time. Veyra stumbled to her feet, her legs weak and shaking. She looked at Rael. Why? She said softly. The commander didn't answer. Why are you protecting me? She cried, her voice breaking. I'm not worth dying for. The humans turned to look at her, their expressions unreadable. Rael's eyes locked on hers, cold and steady. Maybe you're not, he said, but we don't leave people behind. The sound of boots echoed through the corridor, heavy, cold, precise. Veyra's breathing came fast and shallow as she crouched behind a stack of metal crates. The faint glow of a plasma rifle reflected in her wide eyes. Her hands shook violently. The rifle felt alien in her claws, too heavy, too hot. Pull the trigger, or they'll slaughter us both. The whisper came from behind her. It was Narek, the scarred human, crouched low with his own weapon steady in his hands. His eyes were calm, almost bored, as though death itself didn't scare him anymore. But Veyra's heart was pounding so loud she thought it would burst from her chest. Don't freeze up now. Girl, Narek growled softly. They're coming. Union soldiers moved like phantoms through the ship. Their armor gleamed silver in the emergency lights, their rifles humming with deadly energy. Find the girl? One barked in their cold, mechanical tongue. Kill any human who resists. They're here for me, Veyra thought. They'll kill us all to get me. Her claws dug into the rifle's grip. She wasn't a soldier. She wasn't even strong. She was just a Leary. The sound of metal boots grew louder. Closer, one Union soldier stepped into the corridor, scanning with a visor that glowed faint blue. Narek's eyes narrowed. He raised his rifle. But before he could fire, a Union voice barked an order. There, by the crates, red lasers flashed. The air sizzled with heat. Down. Narek roared. Plasma bolts struck the crates, sending shards of metal flying. Rained down as alarms wailed louder. Cover me! Narek shouted, firing a burst of blue energy. 2 Union soldiers fell in a heap, but 3 more charged forward. Veyra's claws trembled as she lifted her rifle. Pull the trigger, Narek snarled. Now, a Union soldier aimed directly at her. Her breath caught. She squeezed her eyes shut. Fired. The plasma bolt hit the soldier square in the chest. The smell of scorched armor filled the air. The soldier crumpled to the ground. Hands shook so badly the rifle nearly slipped from her claws. I just killed someone. There was no time to think. More Union troops poured into the corridor. Fall back, Narek barked. We hold them at the choke point. He shoved Veyra toward the next hallway. Move it, girl, or you'll die here. The humans fought like demons. In the narrow passage, they struck hard and fast rifles, blazing boots slamming. Voices roaring orders above the chaos. They didn't fight like the Union's polished soldiers. They fought like animals. Brutal, wild, unstoppable. And Veyra was in the middle of it. Her claws burned from gripping the rifle too tight. Her ears rang with the sound of gunfire and screams. Suddenly, a Union soldier lunged at her. The rifle was knocked from her hands. No, she screamed, raising her claws in panic. The soldier shoved her against the wall, raising a blade to strike. Before the blade could fall, Human tackled him from the side. It was Rael. The commander rammed his shoulder into the soldier, knocking him flat. In one smooth motion, Rael drew his own blade and drove it deep into the Union soldier's chest. Blood sprayed across the floor. Are you hurt? Rael demanded, turning to Veyra. She shook her head, her whole body trembling. Good, he said. Then get up. The fight's not over. Together, they fought their way back to the command deck. Veyra fired wildly, her aim shaky, but enough to force the Union soldiers back. She watched in awe as the humans fought with terrifying precision. 1. Human dragged a wounded crewmate to safety, shielding him with her own body. Another slammed a rifle butt into a Union soldier's visor, shattering it before finishing him with a shot. These monsters weren't just fighting for themselves, they were fighting for each other, and for her. Finally, the ship's alarm shifted tone. Union boarding parties retreating, Narak reported. We scared them off. For now. The humans let out tired, ragged cheers. But Veyra didn't cheer. She stared at her claws. They were shaking and they were stained red. Rael stood over her, blood dripping from a gash on his arm. You fought well, he said. Veyra looked up at him, her eyes glassy. Am I a monster now too? She whispered. Rael's dark eyes met hers. The galaxy hates us because we refuse to kneel, he said quietly. That's why we're still alive. The ship creaked and groaned as it slid into the docking bay. Veyra pressed her face to the viewport. Staring at the massive structure ahead, it wasn't like the polished Union stations she'd seen as a child. This place was rough. Built from scavenged metal and jagged panels, hidden deep inside an asteroid field. This is Haven Outpost, Narek muttered from the weapons console. One of the few places we can still call home. Veyra's claws gripped the edge of her seat. Home. She hadn't felt that word in a long time. As the Harbinger's docking clamps engaged, Rael stood, his coat shifting with the faint hiss of the airlock. Stay alert, he ordered. Haven isn't as safe as it used to be.
You think the
Union found it? Narek asked. Rael's dark eyes narrowed. They're hunting us. They'll find every hole we crawl into sooner or later. The airlock hissed open. Smoke poured in. Veyra coughed, her claws covering her nose as acrid fumes burned her throat. What the? Narek started. Then they saw it. The outpost was in flames. The docking bay was littered with debris. Shattered crates floated in zero-G. A small ship drifted, gutted and burning, its fuel leaking in glowing streams. Veyra's eyes widened in horror. Corpses floated in the air. Humans, their bodies were riddled with plasma burns. Their armor melted. To their flesh, the Harbinger's crew spread out cautiously, weapons drawn. Check for survivors, Rael barked. Who could have done this? Veyra whispered, her voice shaking. Narek's face darkened. Who do you think? The Union. A faint crackle burst over the outposts. Comes. Help me. Veyra's ears perked up. It was a child's voice. Help me, please, someone. Her claws dug into her palms. Did you hear that? She gasped. Rael's head snapped toward a corridor. Sounded like it came from Sector C. Move. The humans advanced through the ruined halls. Fires raged in broken chambers. Doors sparked and sputtered as systems failed. Keep your eyes open, Rail warned. If Union troops are still here, a loud clang cut him off. The humans raised their rifles instantly. But it wasn't Union soldiers. It was a boy barely 10 cycles old. His face streaked with ash and tears. He stumbled out from a broken ventilation. Shaft, clutching a crude wooden toy. "Please don't hurt me," he cried. Veyra's chest tightened. "He's just a child. Like I was." Rail knelt slowly, lowering his weapon. "You're safe now," he said softly. The boy sniffled. They killed everyone," he sobbed. "Ah!" The soldiers in silver armor. They burned everything. Veyra's claws trembled. She reached out carefully, touching the boy's small hand. "It's okay," she whispered. "We'll protect you." The boy flinched at her touch but didn't pull away. As they led the child back to the Harbinger, Veyra glanced at Rail. "Why would the Union do this?" she asked. Rail didn't answer at first, when he finally spoke. His voice was low and cold. "They don't just hate humans," he said. "They hate anyone who refuses to kneel. Refugees, outcasts, species like your Leary." Veyra's breath caught. "You're saying this isn't about me?" Rail's eyes met hers. "This is about control. The Union wants a galaxy where no one questions them. To get that, they'll burn entire worlds." Back on the Harbinger, Veyra sat in the med bay as the boy slept on a cot nearby. Her mind whirled. Everything I believed about the Union. It was a lie. She remembered the way the humans had fought for her, how they'd shared food, even when supplies were low, how they'd risked their lives to rescue strangers. Were these really the monsters the galaxy feared? Or were they just survivors like her? The ship's lights flickered. "Power fluctuation," Narek muttered from a nearby console. "Must be damage from the last fight." As he worked, a datapad slipped from a shelf and clattered to the floor. Veyra bent to pick it up. The screen lit up and she froze. Her own face stared back at her. From the display, a red banner flashed across the image in bold letters. "Priority 1. Terminate on sight." Veyra's claws shook as she scrawled through the Union's message. It wasn't just a bounty, it was an extermination order, not just for her, but for every Leary left in the galaxy. Rail's shadow fell over her. "You've seen it now?" he said quietly. Veyra turned, her eyes wide and wet. "They'll never stop hunting me. Will they?" "No," Rail said. "But you're not alone anymore." The void outside the viewport was alive with light. Not stars. Weapons, Union. Warships surrounded the Harbinger like a pack of predators, closing in on a wounded beast. Their cold silver holes gleamed in the darkness. Their weapons hummed, charging for the killing blow. A voice crackled over the comms, smooth and venomous. "This is Union command. Surrender the Leary contaminant, and we will spare your miserable species. Refuse, and we wipe you from history." Veyra felt her claws dig into her palms. "They mean it." She turned to Commander Rail. His face was unreadable as he stared at the glowing tactical display. Enemy ships moving in like a noose. "Commander," she whispered, "what do we do?" Adadel turned to her, his dark eyes calm and steady. "You have a choice, girl." The air in the command deck felt heavy, thick with smoke and tension. Rail's voice was quiet but sharp. "We can launch and escape. Pods slip you past their blockade, you'll be on your own. But you'll live." Veyra's stomach twisted. "Leave and save myself." "What about you?" she asked. Rail's expression hardened. "We'll hold them off as long as we can. They want us dead, we'll make them pay for it." Narek slammed a fist on the console. "Rail, you're insane. She's the one they're after. Send her out now, and we might survive." Rail didn't flinch. "It's her choice." The human's eyes turned to Veyra. Every second felt like an eternity. "I could leave, drift into the stars, stay alive." But then, she remembered the human boy they'd rescued at Haven, the crew who'd shared their food with her, the way Rail had stood in front of her, blade in hand to protect her from Union soldiers. They're fighting for me. Even now, Veyra straightened, her claws curling into fists. No, she said softly. Rael raised an eyebrow. I'm not running, Veyra continued, louder now. If they want me, they'll have to burn with me. Narek barked a harsh laugh. Spoken like a human. Rael's lips curved into the faintest of smiles. Then get ready, girl. This will be bloody. The humans moved with brutal efficiency, divert all power to weapons and shields, set traps at every approach vector. Load the torpedoes if they board us. We take them down with us. Veyra followed Rael to the communications console. What are we doing here? She asked. Rael handed her a headset. You want to stay? Then fight like us. Coms came alive with Union chatter. Target is cornered. Prepare boarding teams. The leery girl must not escape. Vera's claws tightened on the headset. Her mind flashed with the memory of Haven's burning halls. The Union's extermination orders. Her voice trembled as she spoke into the mic, but her words grew stronger with every syllable. This is Veyra of the Leary. It's broadcasting to all ships. She glanced at Rael. He nodded. The Union lies. They call humans monsters because they refuse to kneel. Burn worlds. They slaughter the weak. It will kill every last one of us, lest we stand together. Her message cut across open frequencies. Every ship within range heard her, even the Union crews. A flicker of hesitation showed on the tactical display as one Union vessel broke formation for a heartbeat. Good work, Rael said. But words won't stop them? Then what will? Veyra asked. Rael's eyes burned with a predator's focus. Blood. The first volley struck. The Harbinger jolted violently as enemy fire slammed into its shields. Shields at 60%. Return fire? Rael barked. The human ship lurched forward like an enraged beast, spitting torpedoes and plasma bolts. 2 Union fighters exploded in blazing fireballs. But for every enemy destroyed, 3 more took their place. They're tightening the net, Narek shouted. Let them come, Rael growled. We'll make them bleed for every meter. The ship shook again. Flames burst from a ruptured vent. Boarding parties detected, cutting through the hull. Veyra grabbed a rifle. Her claws steady now. I'm fighting with you. Rael looked at her for a long moment. Then fight like a human, he said. Fight like you've got nothing left to lose. The corridors became a slaughterhouse. Union soldiers stormed aboard, their silver armor gleaming in the flickering lights. The humans met them head-on. Rifles blazing, blades flashing. Veyra fought alongside them. Every shot and swing a defiance of the fear clawing at her chest. She saw Narek rip a Union soldier's helmet off and crush his throat with his bare hands. She saw a young human collapse under plasma fire, another crew member dragging her to cover. Even as his own leg burned, the humans fought like animals. And now, so did she. The ship shook violently. Engine room's been hit. Power failing. On the command deck, Rael's voice roared over the chaos. Get her out of here. Veyra stumbled onto the deck, blood and soot streaking her face. Rael turned to her, his coat tattered, his blade dripping red. You're the future now, he said. Commander, she started. No. Rael's voice was like thunder. Take the escape pod and go. Another explosion tore through the deck. Flames engulfed the viewport. Go. Darkness, cold, silence. Veyra floated alone in the escape pod. The metal walls trembling with every feint. Vibration in the void outside. She hugged her knees to her chest as her breath misted in the thin, recycled air. The battle was over. The Harbinger was gone. The humans were gone. I'm the last one left. Again, outside the cracked viewport, debris drifted like frozen corpses, shattered hulls, scorched armor. A Union ship prowled the wreckage, searchlights cutting through the darkness. Escape pods detected. Sweep the field. Kill any survivors. The Union's cold voices echoed through her earpiece. Veyra clutched the small plasma pistol Rael had shoved into her claws before forcing her into the pod. He stayed behind, So I could live. Tears burned her eyes. She wiped them away. Not now. You can cry later. There is a later. The pod's oxygen warning blared softly. Red lights blinked. I won't last long. The Union ship drew closer, its engines humming like a predator's growl. Veyra took a deep breath and gripped the pistol tighter. If they find me, I'll take at least one of them with me. Then a voice crackled in her earpiece. At first, she thought it was the Union, but the voice was rough, warm, human. Kid, you're not done yet. Veyra's heart leaped. Rail, she gasped. No. He's still out there, fighting. This is Narek. We're coming for you. The wreckage stirred. A small, battered freighter burst from behind a drifting Union destroyer. Its guns roared, blasting the enemy's engines apart in a storm of plasma fire. Veyra's pod rocked violently as shockwaves tore through the debris field. Brace yourself, girl, Narek shouted. A grappling arm shot from the freighter, locking onto her pod. With a screech of metal, she was yanked toward the human ship. The pod's hatch burst open. Strong hands pulled her out. Welcome back. Girl, Narek said, his scarred face breaking into a rare grin. Veyra coughed, gasping for fresh air. You survived, she whispered. Not all of us, Narek said grimly, but enough helped her to her feet. Rail's still alive, he said. We think they took him. Veyra's claws curled into fists. Then we get him back. The human ship rumbled as it jumped to hyperspace. Veyra sat in the medbay, staring at her reflection in a cracked mirror. She barely recognized herself. Gone was the timid alien girl, who had trembled at the sight of humans. Her fur was matted with soot and blood. Her eyes burned with something new. Resolve. I'm not running anymore. Nay limped into the room, his arm in a sling. We're planning a strike, he said. You don't have to come. Yes, I do, Veyra said.
Why? He asked.
This isn't just about me, she said softly. Her claws gripped the edge of the cot. It's about every Leary the Union wants dead. Every human they call a monster. Every world they burned. The ship comes flared to life. Captain on deck, someone shouted. Veyra stepped into the command room, her claws steady on the railing. Outside the viewport, space shimmered. One by one, ships emerged from hyperspace. Ragged freighters, armed cargo haulers, scavenged warships, dozens of human vessels, and more than a few alien ships. Flying rebel banners, they'd come from every corner of the galaxy. The coms crackled. A deep, familiar voice spoke. Veyra, you still alive? Her heart stopped. Rail, she whispered. His voice was weaker than she remembered, but still sharp as a blade. You're late, girl. We're here now, she said, her claws tight on the railing. We're not leaving you behind. The ragtag fleet moved into position. In the distance, a massive Union battle station loomed cold and unyielding. Rails inside, Narek said. We hit them hard, fast, and loud. Veyra took a deep breath. Let's show the galaxy what monsters can do. The fleet surged forward. Engines roared like thunder. Weapons flared like stars. Veyra's heart pounded. She gripped the command console. She wasn't the frightened girl who had begged for rescue anymore. She was the girl who stood with monsters, and together they would make the galaxy tremble.